Well, we have some much needed rain for not just areas in southern New England down to eastern Pennsylvania and points southward, but even further south across the Gulf states with severe weather going on and even some tornado warnings that were issued earlier. This weather system is moving east to bring some heavy rains into parts of the northern mid-Atlantic to southern New England for later tomorrow into Wednesday morning. Plus, we'll have a look at Thanksgiving Day and take some guesses as far as what the long range holds tonight on the Joe and Joe Weather Show podcast, which is brought to you by Tempest by Weatherflow. Get the revolutionary Tempest weather system, and you too can join the fastest growing observing weather network on the planet. The link is pinned to the top of the chat board. It's also on the descriptor to this video, and Tempest is an affiliate of the Joe and Joe Weather Show. Use the coupon code for anything you purchase. Holiday shoppers, it's I want a weather station on anything you get. And if you do, you will get
10% off, Joe.
Yes, a whole 10%. Okay, so I moved since it's the holiday season, I have the Christmas tree up.
Yes.
Okay, so you can kind of see it there. Voila. Okay. There was a while there where I kept it up more because kept it up through a whole year, but I took it down and just put it up. Yep, it's brightens up everything. I have to say, it just gives the house a different feel to it. I have the stockings. I don't know if you could see the fireplace. Let's see. You can kind of see the fireplace there in the background. And I have the stockings there. And then I went to a thrift store and got that wreath for like $1.
I will say the actual fireplace is hidden by the reclining chair or the I mean, we could see.
Oh, all right. Well, so you know what? I could raise the camera up. Let's see if I can.
We can see the stockings. So that's for a nice touch.
So I don't know if you could. Does it look better now?
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
There you go. It looks like pre log on channel 11.
Yes. Well, it's in the 50s here. It's gotten really windy. We've got wind advisories up here for gusts to 45 miles an hour possible.
And red flag warnings too, or?
Red flags are in western North Carolina, so that's only 20 miles from here. I mean, effectively, it's as dry there as it is here, or as dry here as it is there. It's all the same. Whoops, let me fix myself. So, big welcome to everybody. What
does Pat BFD mean, Joe R? You just wake up.
Oh, I don't know.
I don't know either. That's a weird message. I've been up for a while, Pat. Quite a while. Anyway.
Oh God. Well,
it's right around 31 degrees here, Joe.
How high did it get today for you?
42.
That's it?
That's it. That's all we were going to manage.
So it's mostly low and middle 40s, which is probably about 10 degrees below where we should be.
Yeah, and tomorrow morning we may see temperatures, maybe not here in Putnam Valley. I think here in Putnam Valley we're probably going to bottom out at around 22 or 23, but it's quite possible that in some of the rural valley spots we may see temperatures tomorrow morning down as low as 15 or 16 degrees.
Oh, so you may beat me to the teens then.
Yeah, well,
no, it's not. All right, maybe.
We'll
you have to shoot for 21.2. You have to get below 21.2 to take out my low of the year so far.
Okay.
David Schwartz wants to know who all the stockings are for. So there's a stocking for each of my grandchildren, and the last one, the red one, is mine, and it says on it, "I'm on the naughty list, and I have no regrets."
I did take a brush to my head, Pat. BFD.
Boy, everybody's concerned with hair.
Yeah.
You know?
Anyway.
And mine is its natural color every other week. Yes.
It should be around 40. Tomorrow I'm looking for a high only around 40 or 42, Joe. Kind of like it was out there today. But then tomorrow night, we may see temperatures rise, and we could get up to near 50 by Wednesday morning. Of course, by Wednesday morning, I pretty well will have probably at least an inch to an inch and a half of rain, and it'll still be raining or showering into the early part of Wednesday.
All right. The chairman, Scott Briller, just hit Super Chat. I can see it right now. The criteria for balloons to fly on the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade are winds of 23 and gusts to 34. Last time balloons didn't fly was 1971. And thank you, Scott, for hitting the tip jar and for that useful bit of information, because a lot of folks, I went to the Thanksgiving Day Parade once. It was cold, it was windy, and I couldn't really see much because I was somehow surrounded by very tall people. So, and I'm not short. I'm 6 foot, but apparently there was a convention of people 6'7" or higher, and they all, congregated in that same spot. Welcome to everybody on the chat board tonight to the Joe and Joe Weather Show podcast. It's always good to see all the regulars on board. And for those of you who are lurking in the background, we have a special place in our hearts for you. Subscribe to my YouTube channel so that you can watch the Joe and Joe Weather Show podcast Sunday through Thursday at 7:35 p.m. And be sure to turn your notifications on. So just in case we do a Friday or Saturday show, which is normally when we take off, you'll know. And this Thursday, Thanksgiving Day, we're going to be taking off. So after Wednesday, we will not be back until Sunday. So just make a note of that.
Yes.
You've got just rains coming through. Thanksgiving Day looks okay. Maybe the first part of the day is a bit on the breezy side, maybe a little bit more on the windy side right along the immediate coast. But I don't know that it's going to be, this particular weather system in terms of how it's evolved. I mean, over the course of the last week, we've been taken through all different directions regarding wind and temperatures. It's been fairly consistent with the amount of rain for the most part, but in terms of what went on behind it, how much wind we were going to get, how much colder we were going to get, that's been quite a struggle. So now at least temperature, it does look like a reasonable Thanksgiving Day overall.
Yeah, in fact, I posted on my Facebook page earlier today my updated Hudson Valley Thanksgiving forecast. I said mainly sunny, 50 degrees at the Sound Shore, 48 degrees inland, and 75 at Grandma's.
Yeah, right, exactly. All right, let's start off tonight. We'll take us around with the satellite loop and see what's going on. And the standout obvious system is the one that covers pretty much everybody east of the Rockies except for the immediate East Coast under clouds, and we've got various areas that are getting some heavy rains, and other areas are getting heavy rains with severe weather to boot. And you can see the southern end of that where thunderstorms are blowing up across east central Louisiana and over into Mississippi. So that's that line of storms. The Storm Prediction Center was very bullish on the idea of severe weather today, and I think it's pretty much played out to plan. Looks like some high clouds are streaming up through Pennsylvania and New Jersey. Then there's a gap. There's like a break. Right. So there's a little bit of blow off that's coming through first. So it'll probably clear out again and then cloud over once the main area starts moving eastward. You probably start to see the clouds rolling in around daybreak, I would think.
In fact, I did factor that into my forecast. I said evening cloud cover, which we are seeing build in right now. And most of those clouds really are mid and high level. And then, as you point out, Joe, the back edge of that cloud line will move through sometime after midnight. And then for the rest of the night, it's going to be clear. Winds are going to be light, only around 5 miles an hour or so, and probably drop off to a dead calm by daybreak. And that's probably going to be why we're going to see temperatures really go down, really plummet after midnight under radiational cooling conditions. Again, even in New York City, this could be the night where temperatures drop to the freezing mark, maybe. Anywhere outside of the city will be certainly sub-freezing. And again, those far distant rural locations to the north and west of New York City, 20, 18, 16, maybe even 15 degrees by daybreak tomorrow morning. By far and away, that would be the coldest that we have seen so far this fall season. So get ready for that. And in contrast to how cold it's going to get tonight, tomorrow night, with the wind and the expected rainfall, or showery rains, as Alan Casper used to like to call them, southeasterly winds will probably push temperatures up, up, up. So starting at 40 tomorrow evening, and maybe near 50 when we get to Wednesday morning, and then probably low 50s on Wednesday. So it'll be the mildest day of the week is going to be Wednesday, but that'll be coming off of a drippy night tomorrow night into the early part of the day on Wednesday.
Well, we've got some severe weather going on this evening in Louisiana, and even a flash flood warning up for one of the counties there that borders Mississippi and goes to the other side. I mentioned yesterday I took I had to go west on I-20, and then took 22. So that takes you up. I-20 takes you from Atlanta to Birmingham, and then you go from up 65 for about 5 miles, and then you get on 22, and you go west-northwest on 22 to northern Mississippi, because I was going to Tupelo. And, I mean, it's very undeveloped there, but it's also flat, pretty much flat plains, I mean, all the way. And the ground was just burned. I mean, there was nothing. You normally would see at least, even because of the if it was just a normal rainfall in that area and they didn't have a drought, there'd be a little bit of green from grassy areas. Nothing. Everything was just torched from the dry conditions. So this rain is certainly welcome. They're going to need a lot more of it. I think the good news is for the South and the Southeast, which is also very dry to drought conditions depending on where you are, is that the way the pattern has kind of shifted subtly, but slowly, and subtly at first, and now it's a little more obvious that we're starting to get the systems in this supposed El Nino pattern we're going to be in. You should see systems moving across the southern states, and we're beginning to see that. So this may be followed up by several other systems down the road, in which case each one of them will put its own little dent in the drought conditions. Nothing close by though. The radars are quiet in the Northeast. We've got some rains, some heavier rains also pushing up through Illinois. Just outside Chicago, there's some patchy light rain there. Southern Illinois, some heavier rains, and you see the heavier rain patches in western Kentucky, western Tennessee. Then you go back to showery rains that pin back through Iowa and into the Dakotas. Not enough cold air into the United States to, sometimes on Thanksgiving week you have a major storm somewhere and somebody's getting dumped on with snow. Not the case this year.
Joe, I'm disappointed. The ensemble,
yeah,
the GFS.
Oh, they haven't.
They only do this, I suppose, on 0Z.
Yes, only at 0.
Well, they're only out to 420 hours.
Oh, okay. Well, I have to tell you, by the way, on that, because that was the 0Z last night. So they run it out through 384, and then it just sat there all day. I guess they wait till the late afternoon to kind of run the rest of it. I don't know. Maybe I could be wrong, but at least they started running it. It goes out to 840 hours, which is roughly 32 days.
Can you imagine how you?
No, it's more than it's more than 32 days, because 384 times 2 is 768, right? 768. That's 32 days, and then there's another
35 days, Joe. 35 to 840 hours is equivalent to 35 days.
It is 35 days. Well, you know what? Put the watch up now.
I mean, when we got started in this business back in the late 70s, we were jumping up and down if we got a chance to get a view of the 84-hour primitive equation model. And
Yeah,
here we are. I just realized 84 hours? Well, take a look. It's 10 times more now at
I know.
840 hours.
By the way, if you're traveling, of course, tomorrow, well, traveling right now by air is very difficult. The planes are packed. Record numbers of people have already, they had record travelers over the weekend. They've got records today, and they'll have records tomorrow and Wednesday. So the severe weather, of course, is going to cause some issues with people that are flying down into that region, or perhaps if you're flying up from that region, heading up into the East Coast cities. So the storm is going to have impact one way or another. If in the western part of the United States, if you're headed west, or if you're in the western part of the United States watching the show, wanting to know what's going on in the east, the western part of the United States is fairly quiet. And once this storm is done, much of the nation on Thanksgiving Day should be okay.
Yes.
Good. I'm glad you agree with me.
I mean, that's all what else am I going to say? I agree with you. Yes, it will be okay. But of course, naturally, to whip up, people and into a frenzy or whatever, at least one of the evening newscasts I watched this evening was, let's go to our partners at the Weather Channel. Oh, it's going to be horrible. First, we got tornadoes down in the south, and then that system's going to move north and east. And when we get into the northeastern states tomorrow night, heavy rain and flooding and blah, 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 blah. And then the last 5 seconds of the report. However, the good news is Thanksgiving should be okay.
Right. Wah, 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 wah. Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
WPC, I went to I'm back to using the 5-day rainfall just to isolate this system here. So pretty much everything you see here is front-end loaded. Rainfall amounts, WPC, 1.5 to 2 inches for overnight Tuesday night into Wednesday morning. Some 2 to 3 inch amounts in Western Virginia, just west of I-81 in the mountains, which kind of makes sense because there's going to be, a bit of a hairpin warm front with this, Joe, and you're going to probably get some east winds going into those mountains, creating some lift. And right. that certainly is going to exaggerate or accentuate the rainfall in those areas, and also down in western North Carolina and northwest South Carolina and northern Georgia. Same thing, because they got the 1.5 to 2 inch area extended down to me. Amen. And now that we've already seen rain, so this is on top of what's already fallen in places like Mississippi, Alabama, Louisiana. So we just put this on top of what has already fallen. I'll have to see what the rainfall amounts are. Probably we'll know that tomorrow morning. And in the Rockies, we've got some precip being indicated on the order of 1/4 of an inch to a few areas getting about an inch. And in the Pacific Northwest, now for snow, given how cold it's going to be, it actually is going to be enough to produce some accumulating snows in northern New England and in parts of northeastern New York. And WPC on their forecast, and this takes us through 0Z Friday, so this is the probability of at least 2 inches over the next 72 hours. So you can see fairly 50% or higher probabilities in parts of eastern Vermont into New Hampshire and on up through Maine. There's some 80% areas as well. That starts in the Salmon. And, of course, in southeastern Canada, it'll be snowy there too. In the west, as we take a look, some areas up in northern Wyoming, north and west up and through western Montana, so up the northern Rockies, we have high probabilities here also for at least 2 inches in the next 72 hours. But if I go to a bigger number, let's just go to 6. You can see that the probability, there is some probability, but it's very low, most areas under 10%. A few odd spots between 10 and 20, but that's for the west. And then when we look in the northeast, same here. So both of these systems are minor from the standpoint of snow, and nobody else is going to get anything. So you're not going to have to worry about traveling in that, which is a good thing.
It is a good thing. But it's interesting to point out that, as you pointed out, Joe, that Northeast New York, northern sections of New England. We pointed it out yesterday. What was that? When we were looking at the snowfall map, like there was one spot, and you said had like 20 something inches.
Right, Mount Washington.
And that was probably Mount Washington. There was another one with like 11 or 12 inches, and I said that maybe that was Mount Katahdin up in Maine. So you want to go up into the hill country in central and northern New England to get your fair share of snow in time for your Thanksgiving turkey. So
Right, I'm going to bring up the snow map. Actually, I had it set for the snow map, and the Weather Service, of course, they know this, that the Joe and Joe Weather Show does use a snow map, so they take the opportunity to update it before the Joe and Joe Weather Show comes on the air. Because as we all know, Joe, there are lurkers in the background. Am I
yeah,
am I correct?
yes, indeed.
They want to
And,
make sure we have the freshest information.
and Scott, you know the two of us that we may not get to all the super chats immediately, but we always do indeed mention who hit the tip jar. Yeah, Joe, I got a message from Scott Burley. He said, "Hi, Joe. JQ hit super chat." Yes, I'm aware of it. It's already written down. Thank you very much, Johnny Quest. We weren't going to forget you, but since the chairman, nudged me, I'll say it now. Thank you very much.
I cannot see that. I don't have. I'm on one monitor.
I understand.
I know because if I'm in the kitchen, if I'm in this part of the house, I don't have my other monitor. So we're gonna.
Right.
Yeah, okay. Here's the snow map from the Weather Service, and they went from 22 to 11 for Mount Washington.
Oh, okay.
So they cut it in half.
Scaled it down a bit. Yeah.
Right, they cut it in half. But they've got some 2, 3, 4, and 5 inch amounts there in a stripe from eastern Vermont across New Hampshire. Concord, they've got 4. And Montpelier, they're giving 3. I'm going to guess Burlington 3. And then going up into Maine, mainly north and west of I-95, you've got a finger of 3 to 5 inches. There's even a 7-inch amount wherever that spot is in central Maine. And since we have the snow map up, why don't we take a look at what's out west with their issues? And here you have the same idea. So I see a mountaintop somewhere in Montana with a 17. Everybody else anywhere from an inch or 2 to pockets of 3 to 6. And then we'll run it up into western Montana to the Canadian border. Same thing. And a little bit of snow also being indicated in parts of, light coating to an inch or so in northeastern Nevada and into Utah, also seeing some, no, just a little bit in Utah, more so in Idaho, where we've got some numbers of 3, 4, and 5 inches and so on. So that takes care of that. These maps will get more active, of course, as we go forward. Now, I want to bring up we've been looking at the teleconnections a lot more lately, and this caught my eye, Joe, and the Arctic Oscillation on today's run of the GFS the mean gets to almost 2 standard deviations negative. And if that's important, because if it really gets that down to almost a -2, that probably might be. This is close to the last days of the month, so we're talking maybe November 29th and 30th, where the AO gets down to a -2. That might indicate that there might be a push of Arctic air somewhere. I don't know about where exactly, but there might be a push somewhere. And actually on the 18Z run, the GFS picked up on this. Now, I hesitate to agree with it because it's, we're talking later next week.
Yeah.
But the ensemble AO, if it gets down to -2, would support the idea of some kind of cold high with Arctic air to come on down, much like we had earlier in the month of November. So that would sort of make sense if this is true, because the pressures would be higher all across the Arctic region if it's in a negative mode like this. So all the cold air gets displaced southward. But a lot of things could go differently between now and then.
Oh, of course. Of course. I will point out this, that yesterday the AO looked like it was, only about what, 1 degree below.
One standard deviation negative, a little bit, maybe even uh, less than that, or it would be. I think it was like maybe a half a standard deviation. It was not that, it was negative, but only slightly negative. So this was a notable change.
Yes. Yes, indeed.
All right, so
Well,
it could be important.
so that unseasonable warmth that, according to climate prediction center, is due to cover virtually the entire country by the 4th of December. Well, doesn't seem like that's
Well,
going to be
good luck. Look, I won't say no, but I just, they went off that one run last Friday of the GFS, which was on the warmish side in the longer period. But I would have thought that at least somebody might have said, you know what, this kind of goes against the grain with what we've been seeing. So why would one run does that? And they sort of jumped on it. But hey, when's the next time they put that forecast out? Do you know?
every Friday. That's a 3 to 4. That's a 3 to 4 week experimental. And I should point out, it has been experimental now for on the order of about 7 years. So they're still experimenting.
Well, when you think about it in the broad context, Joe, all forecasts are experiments.
Yes, exactly.
All right, so here's your surface map on the models. They're all about the same. You've got this very strong high in eastern Canada, and a lot of cold. It's cold up in Maine. It's got to be. Let's see. This is tonight, 40, 34, 28, 20, 516 thickness up in northern Maine. So I got to think it's down at least in the teens of single digits. So let's see what the lows are. What kind of lows are they forecasting for there? Hang on a second. Let's go back.
I'll tell you, if they're calling for a low tonight in Poughkeepsie or tomorrow morning of 14, you gotta think it's probably close to 0 up there.
Oh yeah. Let's see. Min temperature this is for Tuesday morning. We'll just have to wait for the numbers to change. They got it looks like 11 for Caribou. It's mostly mid-teens now, maybe because there's been maybe a little bit more of a gradient there. In cloud cover, you do have single digits in northern New Hampshire on the New Hampshire main line. I see a 4 and a 7. The 4 is, I don't know if that's that. I think that's north of Mount Washington, or maybe it is Mount Washington. Most lows in the teens. You've got single digits in upstate New York, just north of Albany. They got Albany at 12. Utica's 12. 7. I don't know what that station is north of Utica, but it is in the Adirondacks. 7 there. Probably Glens Falls is the 6.
It's a 0.
I'm guessing there's a 4 and a 0 up there, so that's up toward Plattsburgh. Getting closer and closer to Plattsburgh. But yeah, they got teens going down to the Catskills and north of 84, and even into northwest Connecticut. They got a 13 and a 13 also in western Mass, probably near Pittsfield, and 21 for Worcester and 13 for Springfield. So it's a cold night tonight, the coldest night of the season so far.
Chuck Cardillo says that right now it is 19 degrees where he is.
Oh, all right. Well, there you go. So the high is going out and the low is coming in. The primary low goes up into Michigan. You've got the trailing cold front, and again, I'll just draw it in for you. So it's right. You know what? I'm going to change color. Hang on a second. Let's change colors here. Let's try a dark blue and see if that works. No. Okay, we're going to do the blue. All right. Come on. Now let's see if it'll draw. Oh, there it goes. Okay. So there's your cold front like this. And, there's sort of this hairpin like warm front here. Gradient gets very tight in western Pennsylvania tomorrow afternoon with the low where it is and where the high, 1034 high sitting near Bangor and a 1006 low in south central Michigan. So the gradient gets really tight. I think the southeast wind tomorrow, especially tomorrow evening and tomorrow night, I think there might be some gusts of 20 to 30.
Oh, I'll go 5 better than that, Joe. I said here in the Hudson Valley, southeast winds 10 to 20, gusts to 35, and I think the worst of it in terms of wind and rain will come after midnight tomorrow night. Like we might see maybe about a half an inch between tomorrow sunset and midnight. But then from midnight to daybreak on Wednesday morning, I think we'll see at least an inch. So it'll be coming down pretty hard. And we touched upon this yesterday.
Yes.
Or last night, that they might, even though we're not in the zone of general thunderstorm coverage, there's going to be a lot of lift going on out there tomorrow night. And that could very well lead to some grumbles or rumbles of thunder. Nothing severe, but still, don't be surprised if you're out late after midnight tomorrow night, you see a flash or perhaps hear a rumble. It's quite possible, I think, with that setup that we're looking at for tomorrow night.
And you've got rain in Illinois and Indiana and Ohio, southern Michigan, a little snow in southern Wisconsin, rains through Kentucky and Tennessee, down and through Alabama. This is Tuesday morning. And then by Tuesday evening, the rain sweeps, you start to see the rain is pushed to me by tomorrow morning in northern Georgia and in the western Carolina mountains, and some heavy rains there. And, of course, you see the heavier rains in those yellow patches, indicative of at least 4/10 of an inch of rain in a 6-hour period. And that goes into New Jersey and into eastern Pennsylvania. And then there's that little patch that's over Joe's house and into western Connecticut. Can't take it literally. Who knows exactly where these the max rainfall is going to set up, but the potential's there up and down the eastern seaboard. And then, of course, by Wednesday morning, should be seeing everything coming to an end from west to east. There's a little bit of a hang-up on the front near North Carolina. You see the heavier rains kind of linger there in eastern North Carolina for a little while before it pushes on out. And then, of course, we get the drier air as we go into Thanksgiving morning. Now, there's still a bit of a gradient from, say, eastern Pennsylvania east, and especially over southern New England, Long Island, and points east. I think that's where you're going to see the strongest wind gusts Thursday morning. But they'll start to ease a little bit, I think, as we go into Thursday. It's still going to be on the breezy side even into Thursday afternoon. But much of the country's quiet. There's going to be snow on Thanksgiving Day up in western Montana and Idaho. The rest of the country, except for maybe a little rain on the coast of Louisiana and the coastal bend of Texas, is that's it. Then we go into Friday, and there's another little wave of low pressure moving across the Gulf states. It's weak, and you've got this cold high that moves down into the Dakotas. It just sort of spreads out. So it almost looks as if, probably Friday you start to slowly bleed in some colder air to take us into the weekend. That Gulf low moves off the Florida coast and then goes out to the east initially, a piece of it, but there's still a leftover low there. And then it gets picked up by a cold front coming down from the north and gets pushed up to where maybe late Sunday night, some areas could get a little rain. Especially in southern and southeastern New England, but it doesn't look like a big deal. And then you've got another shot of colder air to start off next week, Monday and Tuesday. Now, this is where I was telling you about. This is around the time that you go to the -2, almost to a -2 on the Arctic Oscillation. Look at this is what this run does. You got that low in Illinois, and then you can see the cold thicknesses that are coming down with that almost 1040 high. Dropping into Montana, and it brings all that cold air way down. It goes all the way down to Florida, and it's got it brings a 516 thickness to me by the time we get to Friday, December 1st. So, again,
and look at that gradient.
Yes, because we do get, you got the cold front with a wave on it, and then it just sort of deepens into a big storm when it goes up into eastern Canada, and the gradient gets super tight. And yeah, I mean, this would be, if this verifies, this is definitely going to be the coldest air of the season so far for the whole East Coast. But I kind of think it's interesting that the AO goes almost to -2, and the GFS is kind of on this run picked up on that. Now I'm going to tell you on the next run, it may not be gone, but it might be a lot, maybe not quite as aggressive with the cold air that this run has.
Well,
and there's what the upper air looks like, by the way. You're going to see a big upper low that dives into the Great Lakes and wraps up into the Northeast.
I'm seeing a very cold air mass. I'm seeing a tight gradient. Look at that. Look at that upper air. Holy mackerel.
That's crazy.
Yeah, that'll be the yeah. I hope my wife is watching this. She's probably looking at this and saying, well, that looks like the perfect time for Joe to set up the lights.
Why don't you just do them this weekend and get it over with?
Yeah, I have to see what the temperatures are. It's still going to be kind of chilly. Of course, nothing like what we're looking at here.
Yeah.
Oh.
Well, let's see. You said when we started the show, we were out to 420, you said, right?
Yeah.
All right. This is the 0Z. What's today? 0Z?
This is the 20th.
Right. So I want, 0Z Monday. I'm sorry. I'm just thrown off slightly. Wait, all of a sudden now, this is why I'm kind of getting confused.
Now, wait a minute. Are you on the ensemble or on your operational?
I'm on the. Oh, you're right. I'm sorry. Yes, thank you. Thank you for telling me that. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
All right. So now let's go to the ensembles for 0Z Monday. So it is now out to 462 hours.
Oh, okay.
So actually, let's look at the North America view, because that'll be.
By the time they get to 840, it'll be time to start running the 0Z November 21st run.
Right. All right, so I'm just going to run it backwards here, so just to take us to where we are now. Well, actually, this is 5 days from now, so we can go forward. And you can see the troughing in the east, the ridge in western Canada, energy down toward Hawaii with the southern jet that's shooting energy into the southwest. 220, I'm looking at 240 hours on last night's 0Z ensembles, Joe. That's a cold trough. I mean, that matches up well with what to some extent, this matches up with what the 18Z run did. And then that pulls out. I mean, it's just normal heights here as we go to 372, 402. Look, I'll tell you something. This is not. CPC is going to have to do a big reversal on that forecast, because at best, you could say is that okay, it gets cold through like day 10, and then maybe it just gets back to normal, or even just a little bit below normal, because there's no ridging anywhere in the eastern part of the United States. The ridging's all in northwest Canada. And just going out to like 462, it's pretty much the same story here, and that's December 9th. So that's as far as it goes. We're not going to have any kind of insight beyond just sort of a general broad pattern.
Let's put it this way: it doesn't look like we're going to do what we did about 10 years ago and get to like 75 degrees on Christmas Eve.
No. Well, I pulled up these are the temperature anomalies for 5-day periods. So let's go to, let's see. So this is days 3 through 7. Here's 6 to 10. So this is the 6 to 10 temperature anomalies. You can see where all the blue is. So that's all below normal. Not a lot, but below normal. Now let's go to, here's day 8 to 12.
Alfred Phillips. I hope Alfred Phillips is looking, because this is like,
Oh, he's on fire up there.
on fire. Look at Greenland, Joe.
Yes. Well, there's the Atlantic Ridge is trying to build over the top. But look, it's below normal. Now we're at days 12 to 16. 15 to 19 is near normal. That's as far as I got, is out to 480. So days 16 through 20, it's just normal. It's a little below in Texas, a little below on the Gulf Coast, a little above in the northwestern Great Lakes, and that's it. So you're not going to draw an above normal temperature scheme across most of the country like those guys did based on this. So
I'm just looking on the chat board. We're not in reaction to my, that looks like when we're going to go out and put the lights up. He says, very funny. But further down on the chat board, Joe Z says, just hold the ladder, Renata.
Yeah. Hold the ladder or lean on it.
Yes.
Sign the insurance paper and then lean on it. Oh, we have we have 2 yellow X's, Joe. 2 yellow X's by the Hurricane Center. Let's go to the 7-day. And look at this. So we've got an X out in the tropical Atlantic, an area of low pressure developing along the frontal boundary just to the southeast of Bermuda. Non-tropical low forecast to move southeast to the central tropical Atlantic over warmer sea surface temperatures. Environmental conditions appear conducive for the system to acquire tropical characteristics. A subtropical or tropical storm could form later this week. 50% chance in 7 days. In the south central Caribbean, 10% through the next 7 days. Although thunderstorm activity has recently increased over the southwestern Caribbean portion of the low, there's a small low pressure area. Nearby dry air is forecast to prevent much additional development of the system as it begins to drift slowly southwestward over the next couple of days. That's it. 2 carriage returns, 8 line feeds. Good night.
And that's that.
Remember that, Joe? 2 carriage returns, 8 line feeds, and 4 ends.
Yes, you remember that?
I remember that. For those of you who don't know, but it was on the teletype when they would send something, whatever the worded forecasts were sent on teletypes, and there would be a printed copy. So when the last line was printed, the teletype machine would do 2 carriage returns, and then it would do 8 line feeds, and then it would print out 4 ends. I never did find out what the 4 ends actually meant.
Well, when news agencies sent out press releases, they always ended it with number 30. Now, figure that out. Why would the number 30 be important on a press release? Why would 4 ends be important on a teletype to finish out a teletype message? I don't know.
And Don Colgan hit Super Chat, Joe. I don't know if you saw it, but he did. So thank you, Don. Most appreciated. All right, let's do a little Briller Jeopardy, shall we?
Surely.
All right, we're doing low temperatures like we were doing yesterday. So we were doing low temperatures, Joe. You need to monitor, okay, the guesses tonight. We will start with the great state of Kansas, home of Dorothy Gale.
And these are low temperatures now for Kansas.
The lowest temperature ever recorded in the state of Kansas.
Okay. The coldest temperature ever in Kansas. That's interesting because you could have, a blue norther on its way to Texas has to drop on by Kansas. So we could have how about from my vantage point or guessing point, I'll say like minus 51.
Minus 51. No. Minus 51. Actually, it was too cold.
Oh, okay.
It was too cold.
Okay, well, Johnny Quest says, John Melander says minus 48. Johnny Quest says minus 41.
Johnny Quest is close.
Mark Aldrich, minus 40.
And he has the correct answer. Minus 40 in Lebanon, Kansas.
Latex Streams also had minus 40, so congratulations to
Now,
him.
Joe,
this
the
morning.
the low temperature record for Kentucky was set in Shelbyville. Okay, Shelbyville,
Do you
beautiful.
believe? Do you believe that I actually know somebody in Shelbyville,
You
Kentucky?
do?
Yes,
No kidding.
yes, a ham radio operator. Um, and I used to contact. Now he's probably gone to his reward,
Well,
sadly, because he
well,
was already of a certain age when I first got to know him. And this
right.
was quite a few years ago. But that's interesting. Shelby.
Well, land to Goshen.
His last name was Ennis. But anyway,
Well, let's get a temperature, shall we?
minus 34.
Minus 34. Not a bad guess. You're close. You're
Virginia,
close.
aka Ginger, says minus 32.
No.
And Christopher Alley says minus 38.
Christopher Alley, if it's Christopher Alley, it's so close that if it were a snake, it would have bit him.
Oh, okay. Then it's going to be minus 39.
It could be.
Frank Scalera says minus 38 too. And Helen Bertona says minus 37, Joe.
And Helen Bertona is correct. Minus 37.
And Michael McGuire also said minus 37. Frank Scalera said minus 37.
All right.
And Bellerite said minus 37.
There you go. Okay, so now let's move on. Minden, Louisiana, Joe. Minden, Louisiana. Don't tell me you know someone there.
No, I don't.
Oh well, you can if you know somebody from Shelbyville. I mean, right there it expands your social circle just tenfold. But Louisiana in Minden, Louisiana holds the record for the lowest in that state.
How about minus 19?
Minus 19 is not a terrible guess.
But not cold enough.
No, it's actually too cold.
Oh, okay. So nothing colder than minus 19, folks. Owen Daniel says minus 16.
And he is correct. Minus 16 in Minden, Louisiana. Number 4. Now, this temperature record was set in the town of Big Black River, Maine.
Oh, Big Black River, Maine.
Right. Which begs the question, is there a not so big off Black River, Maine? But Big Black River, Maine holds the Maine record.
How about minus 61?
Minus 61 is too cold, Joe.
Oh, okay.
Even for Maine, it's too cold.
Helen Bertona and Mark Aldrich, minus 62 and minus 65, respectively, were too cold.
Yes.
How about James Davidson said minus 55? Minus double nickels, Joe.
That's minus double nickels is an acceptable guess, but not the correct one.
Globe Traveler said minus 54.
Slightly more acceptable than the previous guess, but still not.
Christinapedia says minus 53.
Even more acceptable, but still not there.
Frank Scalera, minus 51.
Well, now, if Frank Scalera if it were a snake, it would have bit him.
Then it has to be like minus 50.
And minus 50 it is in Big Black River, Maine. Now, the final one tonight was set in Oakland. Not Oakland, California, but Oakland, Maryland. Oakland, Maryland holds the record for the coldest temperature ever recorded in that state.
I didn't know that Maryland had an Oakland. But then again, Kansas has a Pittsburgh, so
Right.
Why not? Minus 33.
Minus 33, I think that's a reasonable guess, but it is unfortunately unreasonably wrong.
So let's see who else is going after this. This is in Maryland now. Oakland, Maryland.
Yes.
Virginia, a.k.a. Virginia, says minus 27.
No.
Carol DeChera says minus 29.
No.
All right, I think this is too cold. Sandy Blue Ocean says minus 48.
That's too cold.
Yes.
Okay, that's too cold.
Okay.
But that person is closer than the minus 29.
The broccoli tornado, and I know this is wrong, but I just had to say it. The broccoli tornado says minus 13. Too warm.
Minus 13 is too warm, but I love the name. The broccoli tornado, and he's new to the chat board, Joe. So we should give him a big hello and welcome to the chat board on the Joe and Joe Weather Show, which is on Sunday through Thursday at 7:35 p.m.
Yeah.
No, we're not there yet. Keep going.
How amazing, because I believe Renata on Thursday, among all the other stuff that she's serving besides the turkey, I think she's also serving broccoli tomato.
Okay. And all why
right. Not? So Helen Bertonis is minus 37, and so does Chris Nipedia.
All right, so the minus 37 now is a more reasonable and closer to the truth answer.
How about Michael McGuire at minus 44?
That is no.
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 No. Yeah. Johnny Quest is minus 37.
All right. No.
My sister's on the chat board tonight. Hello, Sissy.
Hi, Lisa.
Take a guess. What do you think? Oakland, Maryland, coldest temperature. He says, still odd that that's a way to end a message if it's used. Oh, she wrote about the Morse code. I didn't get a chance to read the whole thing. Oh. I'm too busy, sis, reading all these numbers here. Alan Shaver, minus 40.
That's it.
Minus 40.
Minus 40. And who is this now?
Alan Shaver.
I think that he's also new to the chat board. So welcome to the Joe and Joe Weather Show.
Right.
Thank you so much.
You win nothing except your name is being mentioned on this podcast. Alvin Shaver.
Well, he can brag about it now that his name was mentioned on the Joe and Joe Weather Show.
I'll be looking for that name now in future shows. I'll be looking around and saying, Alvin.
Oh, Joe, I have a headset on. Leon Probitsky bangs the tip jar tonight too. Thank you, Leon. All right, so actually, that was interesting.
Yes.
Okay, so none of those records are going to be broken tonight, or in any night anytime soon. So we will put that aside, and we will see everybody tomorrow night at 7:35 p.m. Right, Joe?
We will be here. I'll be here.
And the Joe and Joe Weather Show, as always. Okay, there it goes. Is brought to you by Tempest by WeatherFlow, our affiliate. Get the revolutionary Tempest weather system and join the fastest growing observing weather network on the planet. The link is pinned at the top of the chat board. It's also on the description to this video, and use that coupon code. What's the coupon code, Joe?
The coupon code, I want a weather station.
Right. And go ahead, finish it off.
Use that, you'll get 10% off anything that is sold by Tempest. So if you're looking for a weather station and you want to get a good price and you want to take 10% off the price, there you go. I want a weather station. Sorry, Joe, I didn't mean to yell again.
In all seriousness, though, with the holidays coming in for gifts, weather station, if you got a science-minded youngster that is really into weather, it's a really cool thing to have. Plus, there's all sorts of other gadgets and gizmos that are on there. So use that as a suggestion, and then this way we get a present too, because they toss some coin back, and we can buy some food for Christmas dinner that doesn't come out of a can. Am I exaggerating too much?
No, but I need the extra money now that I have a dog. I got to get him.
Oh, speaking of which, does I think I asked you this once before, Joe. Does your dog shed?
Not really.
Oh my God.
JJ shed.
Oh, I should have taken. I wanted to do it, but I just didn't have. I didn't have the heart to do it, mainly because it's so embarrassing. An hour ago I swept, and I usually try to stay ahead of it. Just do a little sweep every day, and the weekend I was so busy I doing stuff that I forgot, so I did it today. I cannot. The amount of hair I got it would blow your. First of all, I can't vacuum. It's so much hair. I can't even use I can't use the vacuum because it'll clog the vacuum.
Oh
And then
God.
I'll be there with with a wire hanger trying to uh, pull all the hair out. It was I would say the equivalent of a small dog of hair. I could have made a small dog out of it.
Pile of hair. Yeah.
Yes. Well, what was it you were going to say about your dog?
No, I'm we cut his hair. When I say we, I'm talking about my sister, my wife, and my daughter, and they also do his nails as well. In order to keep him calm, though, we have to feed him carrots, little carrot slices. That makes him happy.
All right.
So,
Well, that's
but he
good.
doesn't he doesn't shed anywhere near what you just described.
No, well, it saves you $50 to the groomer
Oh, sure.
because
I'm even
that's what they charge here. I don't. JJ doesn't go to a groomer. I don't. I don't touch
well,
his hair at all.
my Yorkie, my beloved Yorkie Comet, who I called Woofy. We used to have a woman come to the house, and actually, I think it was charged like I don't know, $70 or $80, which is reasonable. You know, it came and she did a good job, whatever like that, and she left. And now, you go to PetSmart.
Sure, at $70 to $80 a shot, she probably bought an island in the Bahamas and retired.
Well, we tried bringing him to PetSmart, and he took a nip at the girl who was trying to cut him, and that's it. That's all. She refused to cut him, and he said, "All right."
Why did she refuse?
Because he tried to take a nip out of her.
Oh, oh, please. My, I don't know. Mine is usually. Hold on a second. Everybody can get a glimpse of the tree. Oh yeah, he's not even in. He's in the bedroom. He sleeps every time I do the show, Joe. He sleeps. He just
Oh,
lays there and sleeps. You
well,
know,
you're like his.
I just hope he's not a critic.
He's to you. You are to him, Bob Ross, the
I
PBS painter. Every
I
time my shows comes on, within 5 minutes of watching him, I fall asleep. So,
yeah. Well, he's resting. All right, everybody. We'll see you tomorrow. Have a great night, and hope you got all your Thanksgiving stuff already. If not, get to the store tomorrow. Bye bye.
bye bye.